Excellent. We are live. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is doing great today. Today, I'm here with Louise Hildebrand, and we are going to be discussing the 2022 Children's Mental Health Symposium, and that's run by the Institute of Child Psychology, right?
That's correct, yes.
Awesome. So, welcome. Thank you so much, Louise. Louise is the sister of Tanya Johnson. Have I got that right? Tanya Johnson.
Yes.
She is a psychologist.
She's a psychologist. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's in a different time zone. So we've got the next best thing. We have her sister because you are in Joburg.
That's correct, yes. I'm here in Joburg and Tan's in Edmonton in Canada.
Perfect. Okay, so before we get started, we have a competition. You can win double tickets to the 2022 Children's Mental Health Symposium. And that is, where are we now? Is it next weekend? No.
It's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of April.
Okay, that's not next weekend. It's just after that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell me a little bit about the conference?
Yeah, sure. So this conference is an online conference. It's over 3 days, and each day has got a keynote speaker, which each of them on every day is just absolutely phenomenal. I'm very excited to listen to them. So each day has got a keynote speaker, and then it has 7 other presentations during the course of the day. The conference runs live over the 3 days, but what's really fantastic is that there's a recording, so you can then watch the recording for 60 days after the conference, and there's a huge range of topics. So they've actually had 7 conferences now, and I've attended all of them. And what I always do is when you sign up a few days before, you get the full lineup, and I end up printing that out and then highlighting off which my favorite ones are, and then you can watch them live, but then you can also watch the recording in your own time afterwards as well.
Wow, absolutely fantastic. Now, what I'm wondering is, is this just for psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health professionals?
Oh, no, not at all. So it's for absolutely anybody who has their own children or works with children or has contact with children. And what's so lovely is that it is every presentation is actually put forward at a level which parents can interact, and if you're a professional, you will still get a huge amount of information from it. So I go as a mum of 4, but I also have a history in education as well, and so it really ticks all the boxes. So whether you're a psychologist, a social worker, an educator, or a parent, it's incredible.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to pop some stuff into the comments quickly.
Sure.
So here's a YouTube video that is about the conference.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to pop in a link to where you can. I'm just waiting for that other comment to go through. Here we go. So this is a link to go check out the conference on the website, and you can get 20% off your tickets using the code Kaboki, 20% off. Let me just put that over there. And then, yeah, just from my side, I don't have any experience in child care or education except as a parent. But when it comes to mental health, I have a lot of experience. So I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I'm bipolar, codependent. I've got this long list of labels that I could just kind of add onto my name. Those are just the main ones. But my difficulty started in my teens, which is, teenage years are rough. But I think I wrote a post a while back on mental health disorders. And from what I understand, most of it kind of starts in the sort of teen years.
Sure,
and
for sure.
Something really interesting that I learned during writing that post is that kind of the teen years are kind of like your formative years for your adult life.
Yeah.
And what happens in those teen years and the stuff that kind of the basis for your child doesn't just impact your child's life, that impacts their children's children.
For sure. For
You know,
sure.
and it kind of, the cycle kind of goes on and on. And that was like absolutely mind blowing for me
Yeah.
and
For
kind of
sure.
hit home. And then if you look at all the history and the patterns in families, like my mom's family, we've got drug addicts, we've got alcoholics, we've got paranoid schizophrenics, my dad's side as well. So, mental health for me is something that I'm really passionate about and something that I have a huge focus on with my children, because
For
I
sure.
want to break that cycle when it
Yeah.
comes to my kids.
Yeah, for sure. And what's so interesting is that the one of the keynote speakers, Dr. Milan, she's actually doing a presentation about staying present and parenting through integrational trauma, and it's about breaking that integrational repeat of patterns. And it's so interesting how when you actually look at a family unit and about the patterns and the connections that are happening within a family, how by just having mental health support or emotional connection with your children, how you actually can start changing those patterns in your families. And that's why I've enjoyed coming to these workshops, because no matter which angle you're looking at it from, and no matter how big the problem is or how small it is, and whether your children are little or whether they're teenagers, it actually is relevant in every family, because I think every family comes with a history, and every family is bringing two families backgrounds together, and that actually impacts on how you raise your children. So what I've loved about this is that it actually makes it not only an affordable way to have healthcare, mental health awareness in your family, but it's also an easy way to access some of the most incredible speakers with knowledge that you can just absorb within the few hours that you're actually listening to them. And I've found that there were things I didn't even realize were things that were relevant in my family, that then when I listened, I was like, I think that's us. I think I need to make I think we need to take note of something that I'm doing that I didn't even realize was a thing. So yeah, it really is incredible how, as you say, it impacts on you right the way through. So now my children I now have a preteen and teenagers, but it's relevant all the way through. You know, you may be talking about toddlers and tantrums, and before you know it, it's teenagers and bigger things. So yeah.
Well, one thing I've learned is that, I mean, they grow up so fast. I like every day I get up and I look at my kids and I'm like, who are you? This tall
For sure.
person that's so bright. My husband and I actually had such a laugh over something my son said the other day. We were sitting at the supper table and we were talking about fasting and I'm not very clued up with all the different cultures and stuff, but I think a lot of Muslim people are fasting now for,
yes.
I'm not quite sure what it's for, sorry.
Yes.
But my daughter was talking about a boy that was fasting and how he can't eat. And I said, I think it's only during daylight hours. I think you can eat in the morning before a certain time and in the afternoon. And my son says, oh, well, if that was me, I would just become nocturnal for a couple of weeks. And he's 8. And my husband and I start laughing. And I was about to ask him, do you know what nocturnal means? And then my older daughter says, what does nocturnal mean?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, they grow up and they develop. And, I don't even know where he hears all of these words. Maybe on Minecraft or something.
And they develop their own little personalities so quickly. And the thing is that you also, you don't want mini-me's. And so in parenting, it becomes interesting because you have different personalities in your house that are hopefully not exactly the same as you. So it's lovely having little people in the house. And with all different personalities.
So what I'm wondering now, and this is something that's been a concern of mine, is that these days the way we're bringing up our children and the challenges we have are so different from when we were children and our parents were bringing us up. So what are your thoughts on the digital age digital age and all the technology and how that affects the mental health now. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's something that, like, topics that are really brought into the conference.
For sure. So without question, it's different to when we were growing up. And in fact, I can even see a difference between the parenting of my 18-year-old's experiences and my 10-year-old's experiences, because even in those 8 years, there's a difference in the type of childhood that they've had. I'd say for me, the biggest concerns about social media and about technology would be, first of all, their safety online and knowing what they're being exposed to and what they have access to. We have all sorts of parental blocks and checks and things on the devices. Our children, we have like a shared iPad. They don't all have their own. And we've put an age, none of our children have had cell phones before they're 13. And even then, they're not allowed Facebook, they're not allowed Twitter, they're not allowed, they literally use it for WhatsApp. And it's been helpful for us if we've needed to get hold of them. And we keep an eye on their social media. I think the thing which worries me more about technology and social media is connection. That I think that devices often take away the connection that we have as parents with our children, because it's easier to be babysat by an iPad or whichever gaming thing, or a cell phone. A child can become consumed by the technology, and it doesn't take a lot. My youngest little one didn't take a lot for her to just want to come home and go straight to a device. So we've had to keep a close eye on that. And I think that for me, that my concern is that I would hate something that can be plugged in to have that connection with my child instead of me having that connection with my child. So I think it's more just about that awareness of how much time are they spending on devices versus with other people, with friends, playing a sport. As parents, we have a no devices rule for the dinner table. No cell phones or anything that come to the dinner table, and no devices in bedrooms, so that then when they go to sleep, you're allowed to read and go to sleep. So I think it's really just that. I think it's just the awareness. I think that every family will have their own rules and their own boundaries and where that cutoff is. But I think that as long as you're aware that this is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have now, because it's just so accessible to everybody.
I have all of those concerns, and my children are 8 and 10, and they've just gotten cell phones now, but not their own cell phones. It's my phones that they have use of. And we're in the process now, and I'm actually about to have a collaboration with a lady called Rachel Best from FYI Play It Safe. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so they basically monitor all the stuff, and if there's anything dodge going on, got to do with mental health, with bullying, with grooming, it kind of it sends alerts. So that's made me a lot more comfortable. But I think also one of the additional concerns I have, and this comes in very much with social media, and why my rule as well is you don't get social media, end of story. My daughter's like, what about TikTok? I'm like, no. And it's that I look at Instagram, and I've had a lot of clients say to me, can my Instagram be more polished? And I said, hell no. No, I'm not going to filter. I'm not going to edit. I'm not going to change my photo. I'm not going to do a professional photo shoot. I'm just going to take shots of what it's like. And yes, I'm a scruffy mom, and that's just how I am. I don't usually wear makeup, so I'm not going to put it on for Instagram. But my concern is that, so much of the stuff is so highly polished that when I get the impression that, a person takes a photo and then they edit it, and by the time they're done, you could put them side by side, and it's like
it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, and I think this builds up this, this wanting to be perfect, this wanting to be thin. I had someone tell me I should edit Photoshop out my tummy fat.
We all have it. It should be there.
And I just said, no.
Yeah.
The person told me in a message, have you no pride? And I said, that's exactly why I do have pride, and that's exactly why I will not edit it out, because those are my fat rolls. and I'm
For
going to
sure.
own them. And if they are on me, they're going to be in my photo. I
For
mean,
sure.
sure, I try not to have, I hold the camera here, and I've got a double chin if I hold it here.
Yeah.
Of course I do that,
For
but
sure.
I mean, I don't like edit out my double chin and squeeze out my wrinkles.
Because then life is not real, and that is not real. And I think that there really is a huge danger of that for our young people, that when you create a fake world, you create something that they're trying to attain that is not real, that is not realistic, and that is not true. And I sometimes see it. I mean, even in my own social media feeds, when I look at it, I'm like, when I see what my friends post, but I know what's actually happening in the day, what's really happening in their life, and you're like, you should be able to share life as it is. And I think that we create a false world for young people in social media, which is what leads to many mental health issues, where they feel that they are not perfect enough for what social media presents, when in actual fact, it's not realistic what's on social media. So I think that's a very relevant side of social media.
And also, to add on to that, I put my stuff up as is. I say it like it is, and it's very important for me as a mother that my children, if they see anything of me online, it matches with me.
For
so
sure.
If they go online and they see, hey, look, there's mom all skinny on the beach last week.
Who's that?
So it's important to me to be real like that. But something else I've really noticed, which I find is a bit, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I put myself out as I am. I'm not perfect. I stuff up all the time. I remember writing a post on how to be patient with your kids. It was a paid collaboration. And I've got this deadline. And I'm being so impatient with my kids. And I'm like, if my fans could be a fly on the wall.
And see. Yeah.
But then the feedback I get from moms, and a lot of the stuff is like, I had one mom inbox me and say, like, how do you, like, wow, you've got such great balance. How do you balance it all? And like recently, I lost a lot of weight through a lot of hard work, and through 6 years of failing, I've lost 12 kilos since last year. But there's 6 years behind that of stuffing up and trying and failing.
Yeah.
But I find that when I post something online of a success I've had, and being very authentic, the feedback I've got is like, wow, I can't believe you just did that. Like, I didn't just do that. I didn't.
No. You've seen the final result.
I'm just going to get rid of it quick. Boom. But the impression that people get is that it's so easy, and that I'm so patient, and I'm all balanced. And I mean, if you had to be like one of my friends or my sister-in-law that sees me regularly, you'd be like, balanced. That woman.
And the thing is that feeling of instantness and the instant gratification actually then creates a whole other level of things for young people, because nothing is instant. And I think in social media, I think that what you're saying is very true. I think in social media, you see a moment in time, and you don't actually see what has gone on behind the scenes to get to that moment. And in fact, as you say, it may not even be an accurately depicted moment in time as well. So I think it creates a very false parallel world to what's real and what it really takes in life. And I think that it does create a whole other level to parenting, and a whole other level to growing up, to being a teen in this, or even a child in this day and age, that everything isn't as it is presented to you in media and social media.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, huge dangers over there. Okay, so you've told me now that you're excited to. I think there was a couple of things you said that you were excited to listen to.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Dr. Malan, which I've made a note of for those patterns.
That's right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I need to check out. Who else are you excited to see?
Dr. Gordon Neufeld is fantastic to listen to as well. He's one of the leading psychologists in developing deep relationships and in attachment. So he's a great one to watch. And then Dr. Becky Kennedy, she's super. She's actually got a couple of things online that from before. She's a new. She's like a new sensation, if you could say, in the parenting and psychology world. She's basically become a lot more prominent during the pandemic in helping parents with parenting and navigating parenting. So she's lovely. She's fresh. She's got some little ones. She's lovely to engage with, and she has very practical and everyday things that she's talking about, and she's in parenting herself. So what she puts forward is very real in her life, and when you listen to her, you can actually hear that you can see she's been there and she's experienced it herself. But then it is also then from the position as a psychologist that she gives incredible advice on going forward. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those two most of all.
Fantastic. I'm going to really try and take part as well. So oh no, I can't read my writing. Oh, it's because I did a short version. What is your favorite part of the conference?
So I love the keynote speakers. I find that for me, I make a point, no matter what, to block off the time to watch the keynote speakers. But I think as a conference as a whole, what I like is that even having attended over the years that I've managed to grow with the presentations. So depending on what the age of my children are or what we're going through at that time, there's always something relevant. So out of there's 21 different presentations, and then there's also the 3 keynote speakers that I love, that there's just always something relevant, and that it's really interesting. You know, it's not as though it's like just a pre-recorded 1 hour, like easy peasy. It's really in depth, it's relevant, it's current, and it's relevant to my family and to many families. So I love that I feel that when I go to any of these presentations, I feel a connection with the speaker, because it is so relevant to this day and age and to our family. What I love is that it's kind of like a steroid session of emotional and mental health support, where if I was to go to a psychologist with any one of my children over a period of time, it would take a long time to actually get this kind of support, and although one-on-one therapy sessions, there's always a need for that, and that is always relevant, but without having any massive issues in our family, I love that I can go to this and pick up incredible tips and helpful things for me as a parent through a number of different presentations, that it's like it would have been like a year of going to a psychologist to sort out one thing for one child, whereas here I have 4 children and I can dip into different presentations that are relevant to us for that time and pick up what we need as support in our family at the time. And I just love the knowledge that I get from it. It's most of these, well, in fact, all of these speakers that are on the lineup have their own books. So it's as though they're reading the book for me, summarizing it for me, and because time is a big issue for me. So it's so lovely to have them then talk on a topic, and actually literally it's like reading their book in an afternoon and getting that information from them. So yeah, I just love it. And whatever I don't manage to watch in the 3 days, I set time aside 2 or 3 evenings a week, and then I go through the rest of the presentations, because it's available for 60 days afterwards. So it's plenty of time to then go through anything else that I didn't watch, or rewatch anything that I found relevant.
I'm just wondering now, I didn't see what the pricing is for the conference.
So yes. So what you can do is you can either purchase just the keynote speaker, or there's the 3 separate days, so you can purchase each of the 3 days. So when you look at the program lineup, you can actually see if there's actually only topics on one day that you feel are relevant to you, then that's 87 Canadian dollars for the day. And there's a keynote speaker on each day, so it's the keynote speaker and then 7 of the other speakers, 7 other presentations, so that's $87. And then for the weekend, you can buy the weekend pass, which is for the 3 days. That's 214 Canadian dollars. And that's obviously all. It's the 3 keynote speakers and the 21 workshops. And that's about 70 hours worth of listening. And then what they've done this time, which is really nice, is they've actually included a 4th bonus day. So that's an extra 7 hours. It's Tammy and Tanya have each done a workshop as well. So that's a pre-recorded 4th day that's included in the weekend pass.
Okay, so like my initial thing was, oh crap, $214, and then I'm converting it into rands, and I'm like ... But
Yeah.
I am no stranger to therapy. Okay,
It's expensive in comparison.
I spent a year in rehab, and then I'm still in therapy. I go every now and then to a psychologist down the road just to fine tune me, because I just need that, you know.
Yeah,
I think everybody needs it, but some more than most. And I'm in that category, some more than most, just to be sort of, you know. And you want to go see a therapist for 1 hour, and I mean, your first session with a new therapist, you don't actually do anything other than just give your background information, and they take notes, and that's it. You actually have nothing from that session. So you're looking at $1,000, sometimes $1,500 for a psychiatrist. Boom. You know, so you get 70 hours for that, and you can go back and watch, take your notes. So like initially it sounds like a huge cost, but if you look at it from a different perspective, it's actually a huge amount of stuff you get.
2-3 sessions with a psychologist. And in fact, as a family, we have been to a psychologist, and I have been to the conferences, and like it's a whole other level of intensity that you actually learning as a parent, or as a teacher, or as a social worker, or as a psychologist. You're actually learning it separately, quietly, to be able to take back to your family and actually put those things in your family. And as you say, there is always a place for one-on-one therapy. It has its place, but I find that the value for money in this, as you say, it's the same as 2 or 3 sessions with a psychologist, but it's 70 hours, and it's not a single minute in those 70 hours is wasted. It's jam-packed full of information, and what's lovely is that it's also different people's perspectives. So it's a fresh way of looking at things, and you can say, oh yeah, that wouldn't work for me, or that sounds fantastic. Or I find that in every conference that I've been to, there is a speaker, or there's several speakers that I actually connect with, which if I was only seeing one psychologist, I would have that person's worldview or that person's personality coming through. Whereas this, you have so much coming in from all different directions that it really is. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think also, and I'm going to relate this to an AA meeting, so it's not quite the same, but there's so many times I've been to like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I think I don't feel like it. I'm doing fine. What really can I learn today? And it's amazing how I'll go sit there and I'll listen, and, you know, and as the meeting goes on, I'll pick up so many things from different people. Definitely. And I'll sometimes be sitting there and thinking I'm going to get nothing from this meeting, and suddenly someone will say something, and I'll be like, oh crap, that relates to my life right now. I didn't even know I had that problem.
For sure.
And you get this like ding dong moment.
For
you
sure.
know, I think that would probably be a very similar experience when you're listening to all these topics. I think you would learn so much.
Absolutely. And there is, I mean, I've noticed a growth within myself as a parent, and that knock on of the growth within my family for things that I didn't, as you say, I didn't even know that was something, because you don't know. If you're doing something a certain way and it's working, then well, I mean, then it must be fine. But when you actually are exposed to other ideas, or your mind is open to things that you don't necessarily realize, that you're not necessarily doing something the best way that it could be done, it's lovely to hear from somebody else. Have you tried this? Does this? Have you looked at this? Because it opens your mind to other ideas. And I've found that I myself have had incredible growth from that. You can't actually even put a value on it, to be honest. If you, with the amount of information that you're getting, I read every night. I'm never going to get I'm never going to get through as many books as I need to get the information that I want, because my children are growing up and changing all the time as well. So it's just a lovely way to touch base with professionals and other parents, to get a different view, and to get information, so much information on how to connect with our children, different skills in parenting, different skills as an educator or as a psychologist, that really helps to support our children. I think that we view children differently to how we did 50 years ago or even 30 years ago, that actually they are not just little children that need to be doing what they're told, that they are in fact their own person, and that when you're parenting them from a place of connection and love and support, just how much they are able to grow in themselves years beyond what you would initially think if you were just parenting as we were parented in the olden days, and even our parents. That if you break that cycle and you actually have that connection and the skills to understand what's happening in their world, it changes everything. It changes the pattern of parenting, and I think that in many families that it actually then restarts a new way of how to parent and to move forward with our little ones.
Stunning. I just want to pick up on something you said earlier, which I found very interesting and very relevant, is that you said that you watch and you grow. And through the way that you grow and you change through what you've learned, it has a knock-on effect. And I think that's really important. I remember having a discussion with my mom once, and it's also something that came up in therapy. You know, like when you're in a relationship and you're like, that man has to change. And he won't. I tell him he's got to change, and he just doesn't
do it.
You know, the thing is, you cannot change anybody through trying to make them change. But through changing yourself, sometimes you can see the change you want to see in that other person.
For sure.
Not to say you should just change yourself all the time to try and get results. But I'm saying that, you know, when you grow as a person, like you said, it has a knock-on effect when you change yourself. And to be open to that could have like wonderful results.
For sure. And even if you just change your perspective, even if you just see that maybe this little person that's screaming on the floor is not being naughty, is not trying to ruin your day, they're actually really trying to cope with some really big feelings, that if you actually change your perspective and join them in where they are, by changing your perspective, you actually change the outcome completely, of not only of the day, but of your relationship and of the long-term effect of it. That when and that is the kind of growth that I've seen, that I understand better where my children are coming from when I see certain behaviors, or I understand better where my children come from when they are being teenagers, rather than just saying, teenagers. When through that growth of myself, I can actually look at them and say, gosh, I'm really sorry that you're feeling like that. I would probably feel like that too if I was in your shoes. So it's almost like being, it's having an empathy for our children, for the feelings that they're at, for the developmental stage that they're at, but still actually being the parent, still actually having the boundaries, still being the person that is running the family, but from an empathetic point of view as to where they are in their development as a child.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think another thing to add is that, and like I've said so many times, I have a lot of mental health experience, personal stuff. And what I've found is, from me personally, when I'm struggling with my mental health, my family goes to shit. Um, but when I am working on myself and I'm growing and I look after myself and I do self-care and I exercise and I get enough sleep and I do all of the right things, my family's okay.
Absolutely.
So I just think there's so much that a mother could get from this sort of thing and learn and grow, which would
For sure.
really help the family.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that really is key to a family, is that when the parents feel like they have things under control, that things are going smoothly, that things are going normally, that they feel like they are parenting proactively instead of reactively,
Yes.
then things are good. You know, if you have a basic routine, a lot of love, and a direction in which you're moving as a family, then everything is actually okay. You know that, and the thing is that having these sorts of conferences is incredibly helpful, because it's a minefield out there. You know, with the things that our children are dealing with our past family things, and with what's happening at school with our children, social interactions, the pressures of society, of academics, of sports, of all. It's a huge amount that by even just looking at the lineup for what the conference is, I'm pretty sure that anybody who looks at it would go like, oh, that one's nice, that one's nice, that one's nice, because it's relevant to so many families depending on where they are. So I'm very excited that it's just around the corner, and that it's nearly time to have another conference. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. I really want to get myself in there. I've had lots of therapy, lots of mental health stuff. But one thing I've learned over the years is that you've always got space to learn something new, and you can always grow more. I remember there was one stage, I think I was about 2 years clean, and I thought, okay, I've made it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do too much more work. Now I'm 13 years down the line, and I'm like, how much growth has there been between then and now? And you can always grow and change as a person. It's actually, it's quite a beautiful, wonderful thing.
It is. It definitely is.
Cool. So I've got a pair of tickets to give away. So if anybody is interested, just pop in the comments that you are like revving to go to the conference. And I'm now going to jump over to the comments, of which I've got 185 new. Let's see what is happening. I'm just going to scroll right to the beginning. Wow. It's like one of those slot machines that come with
yeah. Ching, ching, ching.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go right to the beginning and see what awesome. So you've got lots of people saying hello. Niloufar, mental health is such a sensitive and vital topic, and she wishes there was more awareness. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think one of the difficult things with mental health is that there's such a stigma attached to it. And so many people think, oh, you only go to therapy if you really effed up, if you know what I mean. Oh, you're in therapy, you know. But look at it like a car, or your house, or anything, or your physical health. You know, if something's not quite right, you go to the doctor. You go for your pap smear every year or whatever. You go for your mammogram when you reach a certain age. You go to the dentist every 6 months and get your teeth cleaned. You deworm yourself and your kids, hopefully. I forgot last time, anyway. Every 6 months. You do these things to keep your body in shape. And, you know, think of your mind like a car. You put fuel in it every day. You drive it a little bit. When you reach certain kilometers, you go and you get your car serviced. You change your tires. You put the water in. You check the water. You check the oil. You do all of those things. And your mental health is exactly the same. You know, and I can't get over this kind of stigma like, well, no, I won't go to therapy because I don't have a problem. Like everybody should be doing this. So it is sensitive, but I mean, I mean, talking about vaginas is also embarrassing and sensitive, but you still go have your pap smear.
You know,
You know what I mean?
totally. Yeah, I think as more young people are coming through, though, mental health is becoming much more of a a norm, and I think that particularly after the pandemic, I think that a lot of people realize that actually sometimes we do need another person there just to listen to what it is that we need to talk about. And it doesn't have to be like an enormous, massive thing. It doesn't have to be, as you say, it doesn't have to be that your whole world has fallen apart. It actually really helps to have that mental health support there, even as a life coach or just as a sounding board, because there's a lot going on. And mental health is actually a priority. In fact, nothing else really comes together the way that it should unless you are okay. Um, and the thing is that that has a knock on onto your family and your children as well. And so even the mental health of children is important. If they're struggling, it's amazing how quickly you can sort out something that's developing. Like I have a little one. In fact, I have two little ones that struggle with anxiety, and it's amazing how you can actually just with a couple of sessions help them to cope with that and to be to give them the tools that they need to be able to cope with it instead of it turning into this enormous thing down the line as an adult. That if you're open to having somebody help you with those skills, you actually help yourself and your child for the rest of life. You don't necessarily need to start looking at things like medication when you have the coping skills from young.
Yeah, I love that. My daughter also struggles with anxiety, and it's something that we constantly working on because, when it sets off, gets set off, things can very quickly spiral out of control. So instead of sitting waiting for the symptoms, like, oh crap, here we go, it's kind of often a bit too late. And then it takes a huge amount of work and effort and focus on it. It's easier to maintain it on a constant basis.
For
And
sure.
then you pick up an issue before it becomes a big issue. I
Absolutely.
totally agree with you. Janelle, she says, teen years are truly formative and most impressionable. Skills to cope with challenges and bouncing back resiliently is not emphasis. Always, also awareness is not in your face. And in her opinion, it's a must be. Yeah, I think the emphasis on mental health should be really, really huge, especially now with the pandemic and all the additional stresses and people being
For
so
sure.
disconnected, so much at home, so much more online. It's a real biggie. Nicole says that depression is something that runs in her family, and after her dad passed 3 years ago, she's still going through it. She has to use medication to just feel better. And I think that's a biggie as well. A lot of people are, if you're on medication, you must be really messed up or, having to rely on meds. I've been medicated for 13, 14 years now, and it really helps me. It keeps me
Makes a massive difference. Yeah, for sure. And the thing is that all of these things have their place. That when medication is needed, it works incredibly well. In fact, it changes your life. In fact, it makes your life livable and enjoyable. And in the same way, the therapy and support that goes with that offers a different type of support from a different angle, but is also just as needed. And I think that. Well, I hope that in this day and age, I certainly feel it myself, that we're actually getting to a stage where we realize that these are actually totally normal things, that needing to have medication for a mental illness or needing to have therapy for support or for skills for things that you're struggling with is in fact a very normal thing that it should be considered the norm. I know it still isn't everywhere, but
yeah.
I'm hoping that we're moving in that direction. And I think that particularly with this conference, when you attend the conference, you actually realize this is as normal as going to a conference on any other topic, on any other educational topic, or that it is that normal that we need the expertise and the skills from people who have studied these things to assist us and our families, that we can be the best possible unit and the happiest, most loving and connected unit that we can be through the research and skills that the presenters have actually spent their life working on. So I think that as a society we are moving towards accepting it to be more normal. And I think that especially for the youngsters that are coming through, I think that our early 20s, 20-year-old, I think that it's actually considered a very normal thing.
I've got Mallory saying anxiety, depression is a new trend affecting teenagers today. And I think I've got two ways of looking at it. I think the way society is now, I think there's a lot more stresses. There's a lot more stuff that affects self-esteem, like the social media, seeing all this pretty perfect stuff out there. But also, most mental health disorders kind of appear, that's what I read, I'm not a professional, but that's what I've read, they appear, or they kind of start in the teen years. But most of it is not diagnosed until much later. So I don't know if there's more anxiety and depression in teenagers today, or maybe because people are becoming more aware and there's more spotlight on mental health, maybe they are being diagnosed in the teen years more than they were before.
Later.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think it is a combination of both. I think that there is a greater awareness of mental health in all people than there used to be. I do think, as a mum of 3 teenagers, I do think that there is a huge amount of pressure on our young people at this stage. I think that the pandemic didn't help because it removed a lot of the connection that was supporting a lot of students. Moving classrooms onto Zoom and having lockdowns and things like that. Although they were needed, I think that they were a magnifying glass for many things that people were struggling with, not only children and teenagers, but right through to adults. So I think that it showed up a lot of things that people were struggling with already. So I think that right now, I think that we have a lot of young people that are in a really tough situation. If I even just think of people, of students, teenagers that were living for sport, and school was just this thing that happened on the side. And now you take sport away, which is their connection and the thing that they were good at, and then put them in front of a computer at home and say, okay, now this is what we're measuring you on. It's got to have a knock-on effect. So I think that anxiety and depression now, I think we've got a lot of work to do over what has transpired over the last 2 years of the pandemic. I think that there's a lot of young people that will need support and help now. But I'm glad that awareness is also there that I don't think was there when we were teenagers. I think it's a lot more prevalent. I think it's just about making sure that that the adults in our young people's lives have that connection, that they see the young people and that they see that they're struggling, so that we can offer them the help that they need. Because I think that at the end of the day, that is actually where the success comes through, is that connection is there, that an adult, whether it's a parent or a teacher, a social worker, anybody, any adult in their life can actually see that they're struggling, that then we actually start to help them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just on the side of thinking that things are happening more now, here's an interesting thing of my own personal experience. It took me a while after I got clean to be able to say out loud to someone, just like, boom, I'm an addict, And okay, the first time I did it, I actually bumped into a girl that I was at school with that I hadn't seen since school. And I bumped into her and she said, how are you? And I don't know why, but for the first time since I came out of rehab, I didn't lie. And I just said, geez, I just got out of rehab. Yes. And she said, oh, thank God, it's about time. And she was in school with me like how many years back? And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, so I was the last to know about my addiction. The denial
Yeah.
was thick.
Yeah.
But since then, but she just said congratulations, and it really validated me and made me feel like I
Sure.
wasn't such a stuff up. Well, then I was, but being in rehab, and
Totally.
I'm very open with being an addict, and it's quite amazing. I get so many people inboxing me on Facebook. I get WhatsApps. I get so many messages, and it's all positive. I have not, okay, I have had one bad experience, but that person clearly had an issue. It wasn't me. But when I'm walking around, like if I'm with moms out at a play date, and someone will say something, and like, do you want a glass of wine? I say, no, I don't drink. I'm an alcoholic. I'm clean. And immediately everybody's eyes, "Ooh, she said that out loud." So it takes
Yeah.
everybody by surprise. But every single time, without fail, I've said it to someone, or even in a group of people, someone has come to me and said to me, listen, I've got a drinking problem. What can I do? Or I'm also in NA. Shh, don't tell anybody, but I'm in the club. Or someone will say, my mom died of alcoholism and I'm really struggling with it. It was hard. But
For sure.
every single person that I've said to has given me a personal thing of
Yeah.
how addiction has affected them.
For sure.
So the mental health issue and addiction, specifically in my circumstance, is so widespread. Like it's everywhere. It
Everywhere.
affects every single person on the face of this planet.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Absolutely. And as you say, it's amazing that for you being open about it, how it actually then provides a floor for somebody else to actually then find support in you, which I'm sure you probably wouldn't have thought was possible 12 years ago, 13 years ago, that
No.
you would be so easily, by just being open, it provides support. And I think that with so many mental health issues, as with addiction, that if you're just open and offer the support, that in fact so many people find refuge in your openness, that actually just gives them the support of the first step that they need to not feel alone in something. And I think that in many of the mental health things, people feel alone. So I think that I think it's amazing that you are open about your addiction, because it provides a safe place for somebody else to feel support. And I think that is the case of all of the mental health things that we look at, and particularly with our children, that if we are open enough to provide a space to say, if like I'm struggling with this, or if you're struggling with this, I'm here for you, that in fact we actually solve mountains of problems by just actually having that base for somebody to come to.
100%. I mean, I felt it's just created connections with so many people by being open and honest about it.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought it would kind of isolate me and make me the black sheep, or, oh, look at Lynn, she's an addict. But it's been the complete opposite. It's been the most beautiful experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh, Nilla, your daughter started fasting. How old is she? I'm very interested because this boy is 10 or 11, and I thought, like, my kids wouldn't survive not eating during daylight hours. So, there we go. From sunrise to sunset. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because my daughter told me, no, he's not allowed to eat until 3rd of May or something. Not allowed to eat anything. And I was like, no, honey, you've got that wrong. He does eat. But apparently now he's really struggling, and he was very moody at school. So apparently he stopped the fast. He did it for a little bit.
Okay.
Religious practice, Ramadan. Okay, yeah, I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure. So I decided not to open my mouth and make myself look silly. So, Jordan, our kids learn from us. So if they find that you're struggling with these issues, they feel that they are facing them too. Yeah, 100%. And I think one other thing is that I know a lot of parents, and this is something my parents did. They never fought in front of us. They never snapped at each other in front of us, which was very nice and all. I mean, I don't think you should throw plates at each other, in front of your children. But I think also I remember having trouble with a boyfriend when I was in my late teens and saying to Mom, I just don't understand. Like, you and Dad have got it so perfect and
Mm.
I can't get it. And we fight all the time. And she just started laughing. And she said, is that what you think? But because they only ever did it completely quietly behind closed doors, the impression I got was very unrealistic of real life. You know, I had this happily ever after means nobody fights, nobody even snaps or says a bad word. And I think one thing I've done is if I'm struggling, I mean, I don't let it all hang out. Okay, sometimes I do, but I try my best not to lose my shit and let it all hang out. But, you know, when I'm struggling, I don't hide it. And I think that's actually quite important, because to take it all on ourselves as a mother is not actually the best way to teach our children.
No, no.
You know, it's,
And it's
yeah,
amazing actually what they learn from it as well. Not only that we're human, but they learn compassion too. So it's amazing how when I've also learned as time's gone on to say, like, I'm really struggling today. Like, if they say, like, are you okay? They'll get in the car and say, like, are you okay? And I'll say, well, I'm struggling today. And then one of them will bring me a cup of tea when we get home, or they'll say, Shame, I'm sorry. Is everything okay? So it's actually teaching them life skills as well of compassion and opening that up for, because it's in your home, it's in a safe space for them to say that to you. They actually will be able to provide that same compassion and skill for their own friends when they're having a tough time. And I think that is how we actually lift our society in feeling that connection between people, is that when we show them, that when we show our children that we are human, they can respond to that with the type of humanness that we would want them to. And they then can take that onto other people. And I think that is how we actually provide that connection in our society, which is what we need most of all to deal with mental health issues.
yeah. When you said how they brought you a cup of tea, it brought back a memory of something that happened last year with my kids. I can't remember what exactly, you know, I think it was towards the end of the third term or somewhere around the third term, maybe the second, but it was in one of the big waves, and the school was open, then they had to close for a couple of days, and then they had to decontaminate the school, and then they opened, and then they kind of didn't have
Yeah.
sports, and they did have, and it was like up, down, all over the
Yeah.
place. And then
Yeah.
finally the school opened. And I mean, like with my kid, I work from home, and then you got the two kids, and then they need help, and they need the laptop, and you need to work on the laptop, and then they need the internet, and you're like, oh, I was
Yeah.
so tired, and they finally went back to school. And I picked them up, we came home, we had lunch, we sat down, my phone beeped. They said they're closing the school.
Oh no. Oh dear.
She just came down, and they're like, what's happening? I'm like, the school's closed. And I tell you, I just broke down. And my kids just looked at each other like, and my son said,
What's going on?
I'm going to get the hairbrush. I'm going to brush your hair. And my daughter's like, put it in the bed. Put it in the bed. And she's like, I'll bring coffee. And they put me in the bed, and they tucked me in, and they're like brushing my hair. They brought me coffee. I couldn't hold it together. I just like, it was just like,
it was a lot.
you know, the up down was fine, but when you finally thought they're back at school and
Okay, yeah.
get a grip on stuff, and it was like they just got back from the first day back, and we got this message, and it's like it just all came out.
Yeah.
But it was very cute. Like, I look back now, and they're like, quick, brush your hair.
A shame. It's so sweet.
Yeah, but I think it's, you know, to fall apart every now and then, it's not such a bad thing. I think it's quite nice. Oh, Natasha, your daughter will be 7 in July, and you were bullied for most of your school life, and you don't want her to be in the same boat, and you don't know how to handle that, what or how to raise her. Yeah, I mean, bullying is such a big thing at the moment, and there's so much drama, especially with girls. My daughter's 10 now, and I don't even know where to start with all the drama. I'm sure that bullying is a big topic that's addressed.
Yes, for sure. I'm just looking at the list of things that they've got included, but bullying for sure is a very it's a massive topic. And the thing is that it's in schools, it's in sports, it's in clubs that are taking place out of school,
It's online, it's everywhere.
everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I think that that's actually the scariest part is the online side, where there's WhatsApp bullying or through whichever social media that there is, that whether your child is being bullied or is the bully or is witness to bullying, I think that we have to really, as parents and as schools, come forward to show our children the skills that they need to be able to report it and to cope with it. But really just to explain to them that nobody's actually alone in it, that they have to come to somebody else, to a parent or to a teacher to have it addressed. And I think that it's really important that schools get on board with that as well, because as a parent, there's only so much that you can do, particularly if the bullying is happening at school, that you need to have complete buy-in from your school and from your teachers as well. And in my experience, I'm in Midrand in Joburg, and in my experience, I work in a couple of schools, and I know that they really are tackling it head on. That it's coming through life orientation lessons, assemblies. They've had people come in to talk to the children at the school. That there's lots of workshops and those sorts of things happening. So I think that as a parent of a little one starting out at school, I think that it's worth knowing that schools really are aware of it as a problem, and that you're not going into a minefield without anybody knowing about it. I think when we were young, it was a disaster. I think that the adults were not fully aware of everything that was happening, and it wasn't such it wasn't out there like it is now. Whereas I think that if your little one is going into school now, I think that particularly, I think schools are aware of it as a problem. So I don't think that you or your little one will be navigating this topic of bullying on your own. But I think that it's just really important for your little ones. I mean, I had the same conversation with one of my little ones last week to say, listen, you always have to come and tell an adult, just tell someone so that we at least know that you're struggling, so we can help you to say, next time that happens, try this or do that, or that they're not actually dealing with bullying in isolation. Because I think that that's really where the trauma of bullying comes through, is when the child that is being bullied feels alone in it. But in my experience, schools, I mean, it's obviously not in every school, but in the schools that I've been working in, it is very common and very on topic. And not only are they helping children to deal with a bully when they are being bullied, but they're also teaching other children who witness bullying how to stand up for each other and to report it. So I think it's come a long way. It's obviously still has a very long way to go. But it is a problem. It really is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've got Mallory asking, how do you balance between a teenager and the modern trends and our old school parent methods?
That's $1 million question. I think each family unit would be dealing with it in their way. I think everybody has their own style of parenting. I don't think that it has to be all or nothing for either way. I think that if we stick to our old school methods, then we just repeat the past. And I'm not sure that everything that was beneficial from old school, I don't think that everything of old school parenting was beneficial. I think that there's lots of things which should be dropped. But I do think that there are some things which are important. So in my family, structure and routine are important. Love and respect are important. Those things, we have boundaries in place. Our children know where the boundary is. They're lovingly put there. They're explained to our children. They know that there are certain things that are not negotiable. There's no screen be shouting about it. Those are the rules, and they're all reasonable rules. And in fact, my mom even joked the other day. She said, "My goodness, you have a family of negotiators." And in fact, we do, because those rules are there, and we've explained why we have things a certain way, and our children are allowed to ask. It's not a case of I said so and that's that. So they can come and say, "Look, I don't really understand why you say XYZ," and then there is a discussion or a negotiation. And I think that that's where bringing the modern trends of parenting into it comes in. So I think that a balance between the two really is the best way to go, and that's for me and for my family. I think that sometimes we will swing from what we had to the opposite end. So if we were in a really strict family, we say, "Oh, that's a disaster," and swing to the opposite end. But I think that getting a balance in between, where our children feel secure in our choices as a family unit, is really what matters. I don't think that it's worth sweating the small stuff. I don't. We have 4 children who are now between the ages of 10 and 18, and it's now so crazy and so busy that I look back and I think, oh my goodness, and to think that I got upset about something when they were like 2 or 3 that bothered me. Now I'm like, well, if your hair's brushed, that's great. Whereas before it like needed to, it's little things that change as your children grow. But I think that in every family there should be a balance between the security that structure of a family provides, whatever that is in your family, whatever that routine is, whatever those boundaries are, and then between the more modern trends of parenting, where children do actually have a say. And I think that's important. I think children should have a say. I think that there's always a place, there's always a way in which the discussions take place, and I think that there needs to be respect from both sides. And I think that probably is the biggest modern trend, is that children are giving input into how a family runs, where in my experience that isn't how it would have been in previous generations. So I think in answer to that, I just think as a family unit, you just have to work out what the best balance is for you.
Yeah, I think 100%. I mean, you can read all the blog posts in the world, but that's not going to fit exactly your own family unit, your values, your, how everything works.
For sure. And you've got children with different personalities within the same family. So, it doesn't help to also have a one size fits all for all your children in the same family. I think that there needs to be obviously there can't be favoritism, and there needs to be a standard that is kept across your family of what it is that you expect. But I think that some children will push harder against boundaries. Some children will be easier, if you can say, I don't know if that's okay, will be easier to parent, will voluntarily follow whatever it is that you say, and some children will push against it. And I think that how you parent them largely depends on their personality as well, because you can't, what you do for one child is not necessarily going to work for another. And I think that probably is one of the more modern trends that comes through. Instead of saying like, these are the rules, that's it, end of story. Whereas now, if I look at my children, they have different ways that there are different things that work well for them in their structure of their day, in the structure of our relationship, of a parent-child relationship, that work better for some of them than others. There's 1 or 2 that have a little more leeway, because that's what they need. There's 1 or 2 that need a little bit more structure, of saying like, okay, this is the way it's going to go, because that's what helps them in their day. So yeah, I think that getting that balance with each of your children is important.
Yeah, I love what you said about, different children having different personalities and all of that. And my son has got the most amazing grade 3 teacher this year. My daughter actually had her a few years back as well. A lovely teacher, and she's got what she calls the game of life. Bah, bah,
Oh.
bah. And as you get more stars, you reach different levels, and you get. My son just came home with 3 llama toys. It's he had to take them back today. So he's had them for a few days, and he gets to take the llamas home
Oh,
because he's
that's so
level
nice.
2 in the game of life. And what I loved in our parent-teacher meeting at the beginning of the year, she said the children earn stars through achieving things. And she said, please don't complain or question the star allocations. It doesn't mean if a child gets 80% in a test, they get a star. That's not at all how it works. She said, each child has got different abilities. So if a child is struggling on a certain subject and they only ever get 40% and suddenly they get 50%, they'll get 2 stars because it's a huge jump. It's a huge improvement for that child. Whereas a child that always gets 75% and then gets 80% might not get a star because that child is a high achiever. You know, it's based on personal achievements. So it might be that child might still have failed the test, but if they went up 5%,
Absolutely, then it was notable.
And I really, really like that because she really focuses on each child, on their personalities, on their abilities, and really focuses on, their personal achievements, not the actual, 80% A plus. And I really like that.
That's lovely. That really is. That's very special.
Yeah, and we got Robin. She's tuned in today, and she didn't know if this topic would be beneficial, but she's learned so much. I'm very, very happy. Natasha, you want your kids to feel safe to come to you and be open with you, and that's your main goal. That is my goal as well. And if I look back on my childhood, my parents are amazing, but I don't know what happened in my teens. I was a problem child. There's no way to. I was rebellious. I was wild. I was out of control. But my mom didn't know what to do with me. And I think looking back, the biggest thing is my mom did what she could to try and help me in her way. It didn't help. It drove a wedge between us. And I actually believe my mom's greatest joy came out of punishing me and making me feel pain for it. And I would not speak to my mother, and I would not listen to her. I would not. It's actually really, really sad. I'm very close with my mom now, and I look at what happened. It was devastating. That's exactly it. My goal now is not to have perfect children. My goal is not to have children that don't go smoke at school like I did. Don't go drink at school. Don't cause cuck. Don't crash cars. My goal is whatever you're struggling with, whatever it is, I want you to come talk to me. And I hope and pray I can stay calm and collected and actually help with that problem and be able to talk to my children and support them. One thing, I think my son did something a while back. He was so naughty. And I just said to him, the main thing is be honest with me always and talk to me. Because I am on your team. I am like number 1 on your team. I'm the person. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm on your team. And as long as you talk to me and you're honest with me, I can help you. But the moment we can't talk and the moment you lie to me, which is what I did to my mother. Oh, yes, I lied through my teeth. I said, I just need to know that if the shit goes down and the school phone or someone goes and says you've done something, I need to know the truth of what happened always. So that I can support you. If you're not being honest with me, I can't stand by you. Sure. And I think, that for me is my biggest goal. I want my children to feel safe to come and talk to me and be honest and real.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
Oh wow, fear of suicide, Mallory. Supporting our kids matters most, but I guess we parents were too scared to go overboard because of the consequence and the fear of suicide. That's a deep topic. As a non-professional, I'm a bit nervous to put my input in, but I do think I don't know how to put this, but I think when a child is is suicidal, part of me thinks that, you know, it's not going to be something you do that pushes them to suicide. I think that's going to be something they're going to do anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think from what I've, as again, I'm not a professional, so this is just in my own opinion, that it seems with suicide that that it's connection and being seen and being heard, which is the biggest problem. I'm not sure that something like going overboard in disciplining your children or saying no to something. I think obviously within the realms of being a caring and constructive parent. I'm not talking about obviously from an abuse side, but I think that putting a boundary in place for your child is not the issue in suicide. I think that the issue is in connection and in being heard and in being seen. And I think it's a much bigger thing. I think that when as parents, when we see our children pulling away from us or from friends or from other people in their lives, I think that that's where the alarm bells really do come through. But even if you look at in some cases, a person actually manages to put up a perfectly good front that everything is okay. So I think that the important thing is to have a deep connection, not just a passing hello, how was your day, but a deep connection with all people in your life, that then when they do feel that they are so low, and suicide really comes from a really, really low point, not only mentally and emotionally, but even on a chemical level in your body, that it is from such a low point that if you have a deep connection with someone, in many cases you will see an alarm bell beforehand. But as I say, it's not. It's only from my own reading and listening to professionals. I'm not a professional myself.
You put that very eloquently. That is exactly what I was thinking, but my brain didn't know how to put it. And it's such a sensitive and awful topic to think about. But I don't think, I mean, if you're a caring, loving parent and you put down boundaries and you discipline appropriately, I don't think that is going to push somebody over the edge towards suicide. I think it's a much deeper issue. And the other thing is, you know, we can't pussyfoot around putting down boundaries and disciplining our children because of a fear of that. Because if you don't discipline and you don't put the boundaries down, you have to do that as a parent.
Yeah. And the thing is that it can be done so lovingly. It's not as though it's like old-fashioned discipline and boundaries, like in this house you will not do this and you will not do that, because we've all been teenagers. We all know that can often send you to then go and do the exact opposite. But that as parents we can actually very lovingly put boundaries in place, and say that this is a no-go and this is why. And in fact, I think we should, you know, we really can give our children the benefit of the doubt for understanding properly why we're putting something in place. I mean, our children, it's quite funny because their school every term has somebody come to talk to them in one of their mentorships or in assembly about different issues that are relevant to them. And in fact, you even saying with drug abuse and addiction, they have a full knowledge of the different drugs, the different risks, the different consequences. They fully understand. So then when we say this is a definite no for our family, they actually fully understand how it is that we get to that point. So I think that in this day and age, we're actually parenting two children, to teenagers, from a point of them having more knowledge than we did when we were little, when in our previous generation, where we now are saying to them, where we're giving them the information and explaining that this is a no-go area because of these reasons, that it's not like it was before, where it's like, that's the rule, that's what I said, and that's that, and in fact you didn't really have the knowledge why. Whereas I think now, if we say, I don't want you catching an Uber at 1:00 in the morning on your own, I think we can give our children the benefit of the doubt to understand through open parenting why it is that is a good boundary to have in place.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I've had some very open discussions with my children about my addiction and my alcoholism, because I don't want it to be a don't talk about that subject. And also, I don't want it to be I tell my children, don't do this because it's bad.
Yeah.
I want to say to them, this is what I did. This is where I went wrong. This is what my life looked like. I mean, of course, age appropriately. I can't tell them everything, because I mean, yes, that was bad. I won't even tell my mother half of it. Never mind my kids. But it's interesting. My daughter said to me, it was a couple of weeks ago, she said, Mom, am I going to be allowed to drink alcohol? So I said, well, your father drinks alcohol. Your granny, your grandpa, your aunties, they all drink alcohol. I said, but I drank alcohol, and this is what happened to me. I can't drink alcohol. I'm not made like that. And it runs in families. And I said, your cousin, that cousin, this aunt, this uncle, this. Mm-hmm. I said, we all have the same problem. Your Uncle Michael died from alcoholism. Mm-hmm. Your this uncle died from it. And this one is clean as well. And I just said, you can drink alcohol when you turn 18. That's the law. Mm-hmm. And I just want you to know that it runs in the family, and there is a risk. There's a genetic thing. There's a, so it's your choice. For sure. But you need to know that these are the risks. And if you have a problem, you must come talk to me, because I know all about it.
Yeah.
So, I don't do it. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but I talk very openly and honestly with my kids about things.
Absolutely. And that's really what I was saying as well, that by putting that knowledge there, of saying, look, here is the information that you need to make that choice. At some point, you're going to make that choice, and here is the information. It puts our children in a far better position than just saying no because I said so. Because at some point, whether they're 18 or 21 or 25, at some point they're going to be making these decisions themselves. It's much easier to put a boundary in place for a 4-year-old or for a 2-year-old. But at some point, our young people are going to be making those decisions for themselves. And with the knowledge and the skills that we've given them, they then need to make the best choice. So I feel that discussion, as you say, should come through right from early, so that then it's completely normal to have all the information and make the best choice, because we equip them with those skills as we go along. It's not as though suddenly you're 18, there you go, all right, now you make all the call, because we've given them those skills. So it makes it a much smoother transition into making those. And I mean, we all make mistakes. We all make the wrong call. But it's about equipping our children with those skills to make the best possible choice at the time.
Yeah. So we've got a sad message here. We've got Amanda saying that her son's friend committed suicide at the age of 12, and people have no idea what a huge knock-on effect that has, not only on the deceased immediate family, but the long-term effect that it has on their friends that were left behind. Amanda, I'm so sorry. Stuff like this, I don't cope with this sort of thing very well. I mean, it is absolutely heartbreaking when a child of 12 commits suicide, and I'm sure it must have been absolutely devastating.
Yeah, shame. I'm sorry, Amanda. That's really awful.
And I just think that, if everybody in society catches a wake up about mental health and the danger signs and coping skills, and knowing about depression and suicide and stuff like that, I think it would just make the whole world a better place. Maybe things like this could be prevented.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. so many comments. I don't think we're going to get through like half of these. Oh my gosh. Antoinette, she can only imagine her daughter has friends threatening suicide regularly, and she constantly tries to talk them out of it and then comes home in such a state. I think also, and like once again, I'm not a professional, but as I understand suicide, and I know a few people that committed suicide, and I've kind of read up on it. Not a professional, but I've also spoken a lot with my mom, who studied at SACAP, psychology. But as I understand it, somebody that is going to commit suicide, you're probably not going to know about it until after they're gone. They don't want to be anymore, and they do it. Somebody who constantly threatens suicide is most likely, I could be wrong, but as I understand it, it's normally a cry for help or attention seeking. Somebody that says, oh, I'm going to go off myself tonight. That's not the typical behavior of somebody that is actually truly suicidal. A person that's suicidal goes, they kills himself, and it's done. So that is something to consider. What is your understanding of it?
So I'm just a mum, so mine is not from a professional point of view, but I would say that if anybody is actually threatening suicide, that it's important for the key people in that person's life, the parents, the teachers, whoever, to act on that. That person does need to have support either through a psychologist, or they are needing help in one way or another. So I don't think that it should not be ignored, and I don't think that it should only be dealt with on a friend's level. I think that friends do offer an incredible support, often for a person to open up to them as being a peer, but I think that it then needs to be taken to a professional level swiftly. I don't think that there is any time to play around. I watched an incredible video on suicide. It was made by a teen who had intended on committing suicide, and she spoke to other teens. And in fact, the biggest thing was for them to feel heard. That in all of the children that they spoke, in teens that they spoke to, they were feeling invisible, and that it wouldn't make a difference whether they were here or not. And so if somebody is crying for help, then it is really important that they see a professional as soon as possible, because even if you're able to deter the suicide, there's a lot more going on there for that person, that even as a peer, you are not going to be able to tackle that enough. That you need to see a psychologist urgently.
I think also it might be good for the daughter to see the psychologist, because I know if one of my friends told me that they are considering suicide, that would affect me in a really deep way, and it would be traumatizing.
Absolutely.
You know, and if your daughter, like I know with my daughter, there's girl drama every day, nothing like suicide or anything like that. But there's always like, this one's talking about that one, and then this one did this and this. My daughter comes home distressed about it almost every single day. There's like a constant, in fact, at the end of the first term, they've just gone back now this week. The girl drama got so bad that I was thinking on Friday, if they didn't break up today, I would probably phone the school and say, we're all sick. We've all got COVID. We're going on holiday a week early because I'm done. The holiday could not come soon enough. So I think, when there's friction, and when there's, really heart-wrenching stuff, it affects them in such a big way. And if my daughter's getting upset just by like, this one said this and this one said that, but it's
the trauma of trying to be a support person. A
child is not equipped to cope with that sort of.
No.
And I think that would, and like you said, whether it's a cry for help or a serious suicide thing, it has to be addressed, and it's got to be addressed by adults. It's not something that children can cope with.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is that that responsibility shouldn't rest with the child. So it's good that the child is aware that there is a problem, and it's important for them to pass it on to an adult. But then that responsibility needs to then, the child needs to then go to therapy to understand that it's not their responsibility, that the adults that care for those children need to take the lead in helping that child come back from wherever it is that is causing them such distress that they're discussing suicide.
Yeah, I can imagine that is very, very distressing.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, one thing, it was in one of the comments that I had that thought, but we've been kind of jumping all over. One thing that I've been working on, my personal growth, is as a recovering addict, or as a addict in active addiction. Addiction is almost like a coping mechanism gone like really, really skiff. Where you have something going on and you drink or use drugs to kind of block it out, and then you do something stupid, and then you feel worse, and then you use, and it's the spiral. But basically, once I got clean, and once I didn't have the drugs and the alcohol, I'm still left with Lynn.
Yeah.
And I'm still left with all the same problems, which I then have to start resolving and working through. And coping mechanisms is a really, really big thing. So when I got clean, even though I didn't have the drugs, all of my coping mechanisms were really, really skiff and not right. And it's taken years and years of practice and conscious thought, a lot of mindfulness. And it hasn't stopped. I mean, I still find myself like snapping into an unhealthy coping mechanism. But as I go along and as I learn better coping mechanisms and as I implement them, I am emulating the right behavior for my children. And it's interesting because my daughter said to me a while back, she says, "Mom, do you think I should go to therapy?" And I'm like, I like this. I said, "Why do you say that?" She says, "No, I see you get a bit like, and then you go to therapy." She says, "You come back much nicer." So I'm like, exactly. So when you are implementing all the right things, or not, I mean, no one's perfect. You're not going to be constantly implementing the right things. It's like a 5 steps forward, 2 steps back sort of dance.
For sure.
But as I learn and as I grow and as I start doing things better, it really impacts my children.
For sure.
Oh, let's see. Rueda says she guesses it's difficult to diagnose kids at an early age because they reach their milestones at different paces. And every individual has different ways of expressing themselves or dealing with situations. I agree with you 100% there. It is tricky, but I think the more that we know our children and understand them and don't shy away from the reality of stuff. And I think that's a biggie. So part of my problem, I think, growing up was my dad thought the sun shone out of my bottom. I could do no wrong, whereas my mom had a more realistic view of how things were, which caused conflict between my parents and had me playing my dad off against my mom. I think something that's very helpful is that I look at my kids and I try to see what are their strengths and weaknesses, and try and talk to them and really get to know them. So yes, they're all different, but I think if you really put that time and effort in, you can spot some warning signs.
For sure. And the thing is that when they do start struggling with things that are that fall into mental illnesses, you can see it. It's not like their normal behavior. So like for my children who were not anxious when they were little. Once they've started getting further in school, there's anxiety. There's normal anxiety, which is like just for a test and that sort of thing. And then you can, as a parent, you can see where something actually starts becoming something that you might need a little bit more help with, because it's normal to have every day. It's normal to have anxiety for a match or a speech or something like that. But when you are connected with your children and you start to see anxiety coming through on other things which shouldn't be, it shouldn't be enough of a big deal for them to feel that it is like, are we going to be on time? Are my friends going to be there? Where am I going to sit at break? When you start lifting anxiety, for example, up to a new level, it's notable when it is that you need to get somebody to help you. And I think that in all of the mental health things, I think even with things like depression in children, I think that you will notice a change in your child if you are connecting with them every day for just it doesn't even have to be hours at a time. Just connecting in the morning when you fetch them from school, or in the evenings, that you actually then can start to pick up things that are happening in their day that is more than just a sad day or an anxious day. That then when it is a mental health thing that's coming through, which they need coping mechanisms from a professional, you do pick it up.
Yeah, definitely. I've got Janelle here saying absolutely sad, and people shy away and deal in private at risk of self-harm. And self-harm is a huge topic as well. I don't know if I've spoken about this much, but when I was 14, I started with self-harm. I started cutting. And that's before I started drinking or using drugs. And my mom saw blood through my shirt and saw the cuts. And I don't think she knew what to do with me. And she freaked out, which I mean, not, I don't hold it against her. And she's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know why. But it was after a rape incident, and it's very common to self-harm after rape or sexual abuse or something like that. Yeah, I mean, self-harm, all I knew is that I wasn't coping and that it made me feel better. So after that, I then switched to drinking and then to drugs. So the self-harm didn't go away. It just changed its spots into something else. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, self-harm is a really big warning sign. Robin, do you think that the term mental health is sometimes thrown around too loosely? A person may use it to avoid discussing or speaking about something. And should one be diagnosed before using it, or can we just be allowed to throw the term around freely if we aren't open to speaking or dealing with something? Well, I think the term mental health is a good term. I mean, you talk about physical health. It's mental health. It's just looking after the way you think, your how you are within yourself.
Yeah.
So I think people hear mental health and they're like, oh, schizophrenic, bipolar, drug addict, messed up person. It's got nothing to do with that, really. Mental health just means looking after your mental health.
Absolutely. I think that as an umbrella term, it actually makes it easier to discuss openly without feeling like you are encroaching on privacy of a diagnosis. Because I think some of the things that you can be diagnosed with can be very personal. And I think that by just saying, but actually just referring to it as mental health for the case of general discussion is a good way to go. I think that then when people who are diagnosed with things such as bipolar or schizophrenia or things like that, that then when they are connecting with people in a smaller group or on a one-to-one basis, if they feel that that's something that they want to share, it's a lot more specific to the struggles that a person is having. Whereas I think with mental health, I think that for general discussion, it actually makes it more approachable. Because if I say to you, if we use some of this of the scarier diagnoses, then you may not actually feel comfortable discussing it. Whereas I think if we just talk about mental health as an umbrella term, we know that it includes things such as depression and anxiety and things which many people are struggling with. So yeah, I think that both are interchangeable, but I think that actually having a term for the exact diagnosis actually becomes a pretty personal thing for that person, for discussing rather more on a basis with the close friend or with family, because it is so much more specific.
Yeah, I think everyone gets caught up in the stigma of labels,
For
and the
sure.
diagnosis. And I mean, I think for myself personally, when I came out of rehab, it's like, I am Lynn, I'm an addict. It was so consuming, and so like I'd been diagnosed with bipolar. My name is Lynn, I'm a bipolar drug addict, and that was it. But over the years, it's like, it's my addiction is a part of who I am. It is not who I am. Bipolar, it's not who I am. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I like gardening, I do this, I do that, and I'm an addict, and I'm this, and I'm that. I also have sciatica, but I mean, that doesn't consume me. It's a,
For
it's
sure.
a diagnosis,
For sure.
but I think people get so, I mean, the stigma of mental health and these mental health diagnosis is so, I mean, it's so overpowering for some people. It's so huge, and there's so much shame. And I mean, that's why I talk so freely, because I mean, I didn't do anything wrong in my life. I mean, when I was using, I was like a bit of a tyrant, but it's not like I wanted to be a drug addict, or something that I chose consciously.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I was drinking Stopain out of the medicine bottle at the age of 6. I
Sure.
was 6 years old. I wasn't a criminal. I
Yeah.
have a problem. My mom, she only found out about that during one of my videos. And she went, oh, I knew the Stopain was going down. I couldn't figure it out. And she kind of got this like, I'm a bad mom, but I mean, no one's at fault here. So I think a lot of people think, okay, so a drug addict is a normal person that goes and they take drugs, and they take so much, and they do all these stupid things, and they are so bad. And then they just keep using because they're an asshole.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do. No, you don't have control over it. You don't. You are stuck in this really painful, vicious cycle, and you didn't choose to put yourself there.
To be there. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so much negative thought about it, and so much stigma, and that's why I speak about it. And I think, well, I mean, I'm not a evil person. I don't believe I'm going to go burn in hell for the things I've done. I have done some bad things. I'm not a bad person, and I've tried to make right. So anyone that's like a paranoid schizophrenic, I've got 2 in my family, or whatever it is, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's the same as having diabetes. It's the same as you have a heart attack. It's like, you're not gonna like, oh, I'm such a bad person, I had a heart attack. Like, imagine people find out.
Yeah.
It is a diagnosable illness.
For sure. For sure.
Let's see here. Bullying is a serious topic, and people have committed suicide because of it. Yeah, 100%. I've seen
It's
absolute
terrible.
horror stories. Nilla, for whenever I feel like I'm falling apart, I eat a slab of chocolate. It doesn't sound like, but it tastes
It does
good.
help. It does help.
I can admit, yes, I like my chocolate. I often share about it. Just be careful, because that can also flip over into an unhealthy coping mechanism as well. So eating disorders are big. But comfort eating, I don't think anybody is not guilty of comfort eating.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Amanda says, unfortunately, schools don't come to the party where bullying is concerned, especially if the bully or the parents are revered by the school. Look, I don't think every school is, I mean, there's all different schools.
All
So,
different.
yeah. And I think some of the schools, they've got so many kids. You know, like our school, we've got 16, 17 kids in a class. There's some that's got like 40. And I think, you know, when you get such a huge classes, I think it becomes really hard to
Monitor everything.
Rueda, I feel that schools should reinstate guidance counselors. Children need someone to talk to instead of suppressing their emotions. I remember the guidance counselor at our school, and he was very helpful. I didn't actually realize that there weren't guidance counselors.
I'm not sure. And our children's school, we have two at our children's school, but I'm not sure about other schools.
I don't know about ours. I know they do have a psychologist that they refer people to if they are struggling, but I don't know if there's actually a guidance counselor. But each of my children's teachers have been superb. So maybe the teachers are like guidance counselors. I don't know. Oh, this is an interesting topic. Do you think the statement that kids mimic their parents in terms of bullying, where do you think kids get the idea that it's okay to do so? Look, I think it's a fact that hurt people hurt people, you know, and the cycle continues. But I think there's so much more that goes into it. I mean, there's peer pressure. Maybe a child comes from a perfectly fine family, you know, that, you know, healthy background, and then other kids pressure him at school, or I don't know. I think it's just, I don't think you can put anything in an umbrella.
Box, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that some behaviors are learned at home that then come to school, that children then learn from each other. I don't think, as you say, I don't think it's a one box fits all. But I think that children can see from their parents how they treat other people, and I think that sometimes that then has a knock-on effect on how they treat their peers.
Yeah, totally. Sasha, your daughter says you treat her differently to your son, but she's so mentally mature and independent. She gets straight A's, doesn't give me a hard time. My son, on the other hand, needs a lot more attention, reassurance, and I struggle to keep them both happy. Sasha, I am with you. I have an older daughter and a younger son. My daughter, she does all her homework. She sticks to the rules. She mostly doesn't give me any crap. And then comes my son, who is, and you can't treat them the same.
No.
You know, I mean, my son gets cross in the morning because they get ready for school. And I say, guys, go brush your teeth. They come back and I say to my son, come here, I want to smell. Why do you never do that to her? And I said, come here, I want to smell your breath. Oh, I'm going to go brush my teeth. And off he goes. He comes back. I said, come, let me smell. He's like, I did do it. I'm like, I need to smell. I need the smell test. And then he hasn't brushed his teeth. And he says, you don't do that to my daughter. So I said, okay, come here, let me smell. I smell, she's brushed her teeth. You know, I don't have to do that with her. So there are going to be different rules.
Yeah.
Have you've experienced that with your 4 kids?
They're all generally they're really good kids. I can't do exactly the same for all of them. They're all different. And it's funny because my first one and my third one are both very laid back, very they're quite chilled. And my second and my fourth are both feisty pants. So it's different. Yeah, they're all completely different. I mean, my first and second, I helped them quite a lot with their homework when they were as they moved like through to grade 4, and you know, as things changed. And my third little one didn't want to know anything about help. She wanted to do it all on her own. She was just completely independent right from the beginning. So they're all just very different. I think it's just about spending time with them to see where it is that they need help and where they need extra parent input, whether it's on rules or whether it's giving them support or whether it's being there just from an emotional point of view more for some of them. They're all completely different. And they move through different phases in their own lives as well. So at different stages in their lives, they will need something different from me to what they did a year or two before.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because, like, my daughter sticks to all the rules, does all the right things, and I think it's very often a girl thing, boy thing. Like, my daughter's more mature; she does it like independent. But with being a girl comes all the girl drama.
Mm-hmm.
My son doesn't have drama at school. He doesn't have fights with his friends of he said, and rumors going around and stuff like that. But he still wants me to put his socks and shoes on in the morning because he's my little boy. So it is. It's, you give them what they need at the time.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. I mean, there's still so many comments, but I've got to get on to my other topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Amanda and Astanda, you have won the double tickets to the conference. Please pop me a message with your email address, and then I will hook you up. Louise, is there anything else that we haven't discussed?
I just hope that what would be lovely is if the listeners go to, there's the link which you put in the comments, which has got the video and the link to the information for the conference. Go and have a look. It's got a lot of information there. It tells you what the topics are, so that you can see if it's something that will work well for you and for your family for now. I love going to the conferences. It's always fresh. It's exciting new topics that are really current. So go and have a look at those links. It's on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of April. And what's really nice is that the recordings are available for 60 days after that. So you've actually got plenty of time after that to watch anything that you didn't get to.
Awesome. Fantastic for giving me so much of your time. I'm sorry I kept you on for 2 hours.
No, it was lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much. It was really super.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, thank you
have
so
a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, and thank you for your time. Absolutely. Go well. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Awesome. So let's see where we are. I've got some exciting stuff to share with you. So we've done that prize. And let's see, where's my next one? I have got 5 Cadbury hampers to give away. And you must just jump in the comments and tell me you want some Cadbury's hampers. It is going to be Easter hampers, and it's going to be surprise hampers. So it's not going to be, I don't know what's going to be in it. You will be surprised. Okay. And then, you see where my other banners I've still got up there. Okay, my weight loss. I don't know where my weight loss is. My scale broke after my great achievement of becoming normal BMI weight loss last week. So I'll get a scale this weekend and I'll update you on my weight loss next week. But I do have something really exciting to share. A friend of mine, let me just get the sign up thing, introduced me to Sweatcoin, and I've actually heard about it before. I'm just going to pop the link in there, and don't forget to sign up using my link because I earn Sweatcoins. So what it is, it's an app that you download called Sweatcoin, and you connect it to, you download Google Fit, and then you connect it. So through Google Fit, this will monitor how many steps you walk in a day. You can't earn cash, but you earn other rewards. I'm just going to open it up. So I've done, since signing up yesterday, 4,231 steps, and my balance is 9.31 Sweatcoins. If I refer people, so if you sign up under me, I'll get 5 Sweatcoins per person that signs up. And then there are rewards. So I can get my Netflix for free. It'll cost 300 Sweatcoins for 1 month of Netflix. So I can get my Netflix paid for through this app. And if I can get 300 sweat coins within the next week, I can actually get 6 months free Netflix. And I love Netflix. So you can also get Amazon vouchers. So you can get like a $25 Amazon voucher. And I love buying on Amazon. So basically, it pays you to walk every day. And like I've been sharing, I've been walking sometimes up to 6 kilometers a day. So this is fantastic for me. And every day there are, where is it? Daily rewards. So you can watch an ad to get a daily reward. And you can, each day they've got different, it's not showing on here now because I've already completed it. But I think I had to walk 500 steps to get my one reward and 1,000 steps to get my others. So yeah, so that boosts it. And then every day you walk, you can get a daily 2x boost. So for 20 minutes every day, you can double the amount of sweat coins from your steps. So usually I just walk and I don't push myself to go too fast. But today I started walking on the beach and I went to do sweat coin. And I'm like, okay, put my 2x boost on, and I'm checking how many steps I'm going to get double coins for. And then I'm like, pick up the pace. And then I find myself running, and I'm like, I'm not exercising. I'm paying for Netflix. I didn't run the whole 20 minutes, but I did get myself a nice amount of sweat coins. So that was like loads and loads of fun. So did I put the comment in with my link? I don't know. I'm still scrolling through all my comments. Oopsie. I don't know if I put it in. Maybe I'll just pop it in again. Okay, I may not have put it in, but I can't see it because the comments are flying. So there's a sign-up link for Sweatcoin. You don't pay anything to join. And, you can just put your phone in your pocket and it'll monitor all your steps. So even though I was walking around on the beach this morning, I put my phone in my pocket. So when I went to go make my coffee, I did a bit of pacing, which was lots of fun. I put the link in again. It doesn't look like it's gone through. Just let me know if you guys can see the sign-up link. Yeah, it's Sasha, you signing up. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I want to see if I can earn 300 sweat coins by next week so that I can get like 6 months worth of free Netflix. Yeah, it's really, really awesome. So yeah, I need to kind of, like I said, I only went on there yesterday, signed up. So I just need to figure out how to use it. And then I will update you all soon. But yeah, it looks like a really cool way to, you don't earn cash, but you can buy stuff from Amazon and you can have your Netflix paid for. And you know how important Netflix is. I love my Netflix. 6 months free Netflix. I think I'm paying $190, not 190 Rand. It's just under 200 Rand I pay a month so that I can have 5, different profiles, 5 different people connecting on my profile. So $200 a month for 6 months. That's $1,200 if I can get that. That's like really cool savings. Every single bit helps. Oh, sure. Links. Everything's flying through. Thank you, Sasha. You're going to share my link. Oops, wrong one. It's going too fast. You'd love to win a Cadbury hamper. Cool. Sasha, you'll share my link. Thank you very much. Awesome. I think there's nothing else I need to talk about. I just need to go and pick some winners. So I hope you all enjoyed the live and the discussion with Louise. Mental health is something that I'm absolutely so passionate about. So let's have a look. Jordan, I'll give you a hamper. Jordan Peter. Jordan, please just take note. Please inbox me on my Kaboki Facebook page with your name, your email address, your full delivery address, including your postal code and your phone number. The reason for this is that the PR company wants the info right now so that they can try and get the hampers out to you before Easter. So if there's a bit of a delay in me emailing you, getting your address and stuff, it'll hold it back a bit. So please get all your information to me right now so that I can send it off to them. Awesome. Okay. Sasha, I'm going to give you, just writing your name down. I'm going to give you a Cadbury hamper. Please remember, send your name, email, address, phone number, inbox it to me now so that I've got it ASAP. Sasha Ann Badenhorst Bierman. Awesome. Robin, Paul, same thing. You've won a Cadbury hamper. Please get me your info ASAP, name, email, phone, address. You know where to get me on Facebook. Nina 4, please, you've won a Cadbury hamper. Please send me all your details, name, address, phone number, email. Nilofar. Oops, I'm spelling your name incorrect. Nilofar. Cool. I've got one hamper to give away. Who am I going to choose? Let's go back to the bottom of the comments and see who is there. Oh, Mallory. Congratulations. Thank you for joining again. Awesome. Mallory Pather. Inbox me your name, email, phone number, and delivery address. Awesome. Fantastic. I hope you all enjoyed this live as much as me. I have really, really enjoyed talking about mental health and kids. Yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. Yep, that's it. I will see everybody next week. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.